Christy Waltz, Kristiwaltz.
And if you could please describe a typical day teaching here in San Pedro.
Every day is a little bit different at San Pedro High School. We have different schedules at the high school every day, but typically the way it starts out is the day starts out with a homeroom. Each teacher is assigned a homeroom, and then most teachers will teach 4 45-minute classes out of the 8 blocks. And the classes are each divided differently. Each teacher will teach in a different way. Most teachers end up doing 45 minutes of lecture, so that's usually how it works out. There's 3 classes in the beginning of the day. There's 3 classes in the beginning of the day, a 15-minute break period for the students to kind of get their energy out. Then there are 2 more classes. Then there's lunch for 45 minutes, and then there are 3 more classes before the end of the day.
And how do you...
Hang on a second. Let's,
Yeah, there you go. Right behind your ears. Maybe that'll keep it from moving. Yeah, there you go. Good. That's good.
okay.
Okay. Great. Okay. Christina, if you could please explain how you plan your instruction here.
I usually plan my instruction by using they have a book that they get from Trinidad. All the textbooks used at San Pedro High School are from Trinidad, and I get my resources directly from that. I am not very familiar with the government in Belize, which is what I'm teaching. I'm teaching civics and economics for Belize. So I use that to directly plan my lecture that I give. And then after that, I try and plan about 15 minutes of activity to follow the 30 minutes of lecture.
How do you meet the diverse needs of your students here?
It's been a little bit more difficult as I really haven't had a lot of time to get to know all of my students, but I've worked really hard to try and see the different levels of academic talent and academic skill within my classrooms, and I pay a lot of attention to how well they are progressing and how well they're responding to my questions. If I see that my students aren't responding to my questions that I'm asking them throughout the lecture, I'll spend a little more time on certain things. I did notice that one of my students is ESL. She speaks Spanish, and they do not have ESL programs within the school. So what I did for her is we had a test that was all English, and she doesn't speak English, so I translated that to her for Spanish because I do have a Spanish minor, and gave that to her to help her translate and to help her understand.
Have your perceptions changed of what you thought it would be like to teach here, and if so, how?
My perceptions have definitely changed since my arrival. I did not realize how few resources would be available to me. I realized that there would be less resources, but I did not understand that I would be going into a classroom with the knowledge that I have, a chalkboard and a piece of chalk, and that's it. The only resources that the students have are what they buy and bring in themselves. Other than that, there's really nothing. The school does not provide a lot of resources for the students themselves. So in order for me to plan an engaging lesson and an engaging activity, I have to bring everything in, and I'm very limited in what I can bring in for them.
And what do you wish you had known before coming here that would have helped you better prepare?
I wish I had known what I would have been teaching. I had no idea what subject I would have been teaching. I know I was teaching history, but their curriculum is the curriculum for the entire 4 years of high school. It's not what grade level or what specific subject or area that I'm teaching. And when I came, I had no idea or no way of finding out specifically that I would be doing government, so I couldn't prepare for that. And that was very difficult for me when I got into the classroom. I'm actually only 1 day ahead of my students, and as much as I try and get ahead of them and learn this material, I can't. So it's very hard for me not to be an expert in the field that I'm trying to teach.
If you could reflect on today's lesson that we filmed, how did that go, and would you do anything differently next time?
I think that it went very well. I wish I could have had more resources for them to have them doing that activity on their own. What we did today in the classroom is we had them doing a family crest, and I would have liked for them to have been able to use a computer like my students in America were able to do. or to have been able to look up their family heritage online, or to have been able to prepare this a week ago instead of just starting this yesterday. So it was very difficult not being able to have those resources and prepare it ahead of time.
Any other insights or thoughts that come to mind about teaching in Belize?
I think my students are not very familiar with how to do engaging and hands-on activities and working in groups. And so every time they get put in groups, they're very confused and disoriented, and it's like a whole new concept for them. And that, I feel like that's my biggest contribution that I can give to these students and to the teacher that I'm working with. It's something that he's never done in social studies, and he's afraid to do because he is not comfortable with classroom management with that. He's not sure how to manage a classroom when they're all working together in groups. So I do think that students can learn a lot by working together. They can learn a lot from collaboration and cooperation and sharing each other's ideas. And so I can see them growing and learning when they work together.
Good. Very good.